What up, people? I hope everybody's having a good Sunday. I hope you've prayed. Um, Talk to your friends, family, and most importantly, I hope everybody's relaxing. Today, what I wanted to do, because I feel this is necessary, I cannot speak for other countries. I don't know what people have in other countries. But in the United States of America, we have something called the Freedom of Information Act. A lot of people know nothing about this. They have no idea how this process works. Now, thankfully, in this day and age, we actually have organizations that do this a lot. Judicial Watch being one of them. If you don't follow them on Instagram or YouTube, Tom Fitton is actually a pretty interesting dude to follow as far as seeing the process of requesting information from the government. But for us regular people who don't have time to invest into doing all of that, all of the items that have been requested and released by the government, you can search, right? The Freedom of Information Act.gov website. I'm going to show you something. These are things I believe we all should know that we all don't know. People say things and they're written off as nut jobs, right? Now, granted, there are some nut jobs. I'll give you that. But not everything that's said by somebody you might think is a nut job is crazy. I'll give you an example. The first time I heard somebody mention MK Ultra, I thought to myself, yeah, this sounds like something out of a spy novel. Now, not that I don't think the CIA could be involved or has ever been involved in activities that are not necessarily, up to the code of ethics. I'm fairly confident that they've probably done a lot of things that hasn't been up to the code of ethics. But I just thought, man, mind control experiments on people, like what would even be their purpose for doing that? I'm not going to get into this in depth, but I'm going to cover this very briefly. I'm going to keep it brief, and you can look deeper yourself if you want to. When you go to the Freedom of Information Act website, there are several things you can do. I believe all of the government agency websites have a Freedom of Information Act section where you could search. The good thing about the Freedom of Information Act website is it's an aggregate website. So when you look for a topic, it'll search through all of those websites and it'll give you a hyperlink where you can go to that specific document you're looking for. So you would come to the Freedom of Information Act website and you would go do a search before request, because on this website you can request information. So I've already looked up some stuff. I looked up some stuff on MK Ultra. This stuff is on the CIA website, literally on the CIA website. So this is not hearsay. This is not some crazy conspiracy theory. This is an article that's in their archives. Lawsuit forces CIA confession on MK Ultra. So I'll just show you a little bit of what it looks like. So when you do a search, see, this is the CIA website. When you do a search, so I did MK Ultra on the Freedom of Information Act.gov website. It gives me pretty much all of the Freedom of Information Act requested documents that have been approved and archived. Right? So all of this is dealing with the CIA, so it's going to the CIA website. Right? So that document I was just on is this one right here. And then you're now on the CIA website. Here's the PDF. It opens right on your web page. You can read that article. There is documents. I've read through a lot of documents on the Freedom of Information Act website, but a lot of these documents, some of them were secret, some of them were top secret that were released. Pretty crazy. Right? I'm not going to proclaim to you that I understand all of the ins and outs of the Freedom of Information Act and how does it work, what information is released, what information is not. The point being is that this is information we can all get. MK Ultra is a thing. Mind control by the CIA was an actual thing. This is not a zany, kooky conspiracy theory. Let me read something else for you. So I downloaded this other document from the Freedom of Information Act website, actually from the CIA website via the Freedom of Information Act website. And in this document, there's testimonies from people who were subject to this MK Ultra experiment. Right now, allegedly and supposedly, this experiment was ended. This guy right here, he says, I was a bootlegger when I started, and I'd never been in a crime or violence or anything like that. And I got convicted. And I've cut several since then and pistol whipped 2 or 3 since then. And it's just changed. It's just changed me altogether. In fact, no longer than September, I was on furlough and I went home and I beat my wife real bad. Now, there's other things you can read in other testimonies. What you have to realize is that we do live in a great country. There's a lot of checks and balances. We need to keep our government honest, right? We have a good thing going. But this can all come crumbling down if we're lazy about what's going on under our noses. We all need to pay attention. This stuff matters. What country are we going to leave to our children and our grandchildren? Are we just going to be lazy and fall asleep at the wheel, laissez-faire, and just let anything happen? When I was thinking about MK Ultra, I thought about Operation Paperclip. Any of you know what Operation Paperclip is? If not, you should go to the Freedom of Information Act website and look it up, but I'll tell you what it is. After World War II, the United States, under a covert operation called Operation Paperclip, we recruited some high-level Nazi scientists. They were great minds. Look, I understand it. I get it. They were great minds. We used them to create a lot of things, right? A lot of our rocket technology, many other things I could go into. Here's the problem. The problem is there were communists that had infiltrated our government and Nazis that had infiltrated our government during that whole era, right? This is before these scientists. We know that the Nazis conducted all kind of human and psychological experiments. MK Ultra was started shortly after World War II. It wasn't far. I want to say 15 or 16 years, something like that. You don't think that those Nazi scientists had anything to do with MK Ultra starting? You don't think that these Nazi scientists had any effect on our government? Again, I am not a conspiracy theorist, but I am a realist. This is actual information. This is not things that I'm making up. These are things that you could look up for yourself. We need to pay attention. We need to keep our government honest. We need to stay awake. I love this country. I love our system of government. It works. What the founding fathers set up, I mean, is paramount to a miracle, the system they set up. The fact that it's lasted this long, the fact that we've been able to keep the Union together even through a civil war, it's crazy. In my opinion, it's only God that has allowed us to last this long. But the purpose of me making this video is to tell you that you don't have to be lazy. This information is not hard to find. You can check on things yourself. If you hear somebody say something, oh, did you know that the government or the CIA did this or did that? It may be crazy. It may be false. Go to the Freedom of Information Act website. Look into it. Dig in some other places. This is the one thing I've learned in researching. And I am not a reporter. I just like digging and reading. I'm an information junkie. I've learned that the easiest way to do a fact check is to get as close to the source as you possibly can. So if somebody says, hey, did you know the government did X, Y, and Z? I'm going to try to get as close to the government admitting to whatever it is they're saying as I possibly can. Because I want to know, is this actually true, or is this person just spouting off something that somebody else told them? I said all that to say, let's keep this union strong. Let's keep America the way it's supposed to be. Let's respect our laws, let's respect our Constitution, and let's keep our government honest. Stay frosty, people. Just to say this, just so I could keep it a buck with you. I'm not in favor of all this leaking of information. The way things happen now. There's a process we can go through to get information if we want information. There's proper legal channels, and there's a proper way to do things. We got laws. We have to abide by those laws. I understand the system is not perfect, but I just don't think constantly leaking information is the way to go. I understand the need for secrecy. We got enemies. Our enemies are looking into us. We're looking into them. I understand that. So this post is not about, oh, we should just be revealing secrets. That's not what this is about. This post is, we need to keep our government honest, right? We need to make sure we're doing what we're supposed to do to protect our own interests, and we need to make sure that that's always the focus.